Yo mga kasangga, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, for today's vlog, ito na yung start ng aming journey papuntang Glenfinnan Viaduck. Isa ito sa mga lugar dito sa Scotland. Doon natin makikita ang train na ginamit sa movie na Harry Potter. At marami tayong view na madadaanan bago tayo makarating doon. Tara, samahan nyo kaming maglakbay papuntang Glenfinnan. Ayan mga kasangga, welcome back to my channel. Second day namin dito sa Scotland, Edinburgh. Punta kami ng Highland. Nakaka-amaze nga itong driver ng aming tourist bus na nasakyan. Dahil bukod sa nagda-drive siya, siya ay nagkukwento tungkol sa mga dadaanan namin at tungkol doon sa pupuntahan namin. Samahan nyo kaming maglakbay. Tapusin nyo ang video hanggang dulo at siguradong maa-amaze kayo sa makikita nyong view. Naku, talaga nga naman, ang makikita nyo dito ay yung nakikita nyo lang sa mga poster, sa mga pictures, sa mga movie, mga international movies ba? Naku, napakaganda talaga. Yun lang ang masasabi ko. Kaya tapusin nyo hanggang dulo at siguradong masisiyahan kayo.
Into flames. I'll be outside watching it burn and I hope you join with me. As far as food and drink goes, please feel free to snack away. Get some juice, get some water. It's going to be a long day with us today on the bus, so snack where possible. But please refrain from anything too smelly. We don't want to be stinking of fish all day or cheese. But other than that, that's pretty much all the rules, guys. That's all the rules. Scottish for the blacksmiths, the old blacksmiths, the old ironmongers. I'm going to stop there for the toilets. The most important thing of the day is to go to the toilet because there's not many stops. I might get cut short. You'll also be able to get some refreshments, get some drink, get a coffee to wake yourselves up. You all seem a bit tired today. It's early, I understand. And they believed him, and they let him go away scot-free. Free to roam the streets of Edinburgh amongst you guys. So just be careful on your trip around Edinburgh. You never know who you might bump into.
Mahaba-haba at matagal ang aming magiging biyahe, pero mas pinili kong hindi matulog dahil ayokong ma-miss ang bawat lugar na aming madadaanan. Minsan lang kasi kaming makakarating dito. Hindi namin alam kung kailan kami uli makakabalik dito o kung mauulit pa ba. Kaya ayaw naming malagpasan o ma-miss ang bawat daan o lugar na madadaanan namin. Lalong-lalo na ang detalyadong kwento ng aming tourist driver na animoy tumutula sa kanyang mga kwento sa bawat lugar na aming madadaanan.
importance, and the actual fact is, no. You see, that is the Tower of Binns, and it belongs to the House of Binns, which is just below in the wee forest. You might see the tops of its chimneys. And the Binns were a very powerful and rich family in Edinburgh. Had a lot to do with the markets and trade. But they build these towers and they build outbuildings that look quite fancy, merely just to show their wealth. It's kind of a look at me, look at what I can afford. Everyone around can see it and they look at it in awe, going, I wish I had one of those. And yes, you probably would get a great view, but it serves no purpose at all. A lot of those works were married to pieces. Here you'll see Linlithgow pass through the trees. You'll see a big tall golden crown upon its tower to show you its significance. Might spot it now, just the tops. Horse did during the industrial age, pulling all those carriages, pulling all the canal boats, the barges, and helping down the lines. So it's a big thank you to them. They're also put there as a warning. You see, the Kelpies are Scottish folklore beastie. And Scottish folklore beasties are not like your Disney characters that are there to help you merrily on your way, grant your wishes, and show you a good time. No, our mythical beasties are only here for one thing, and that's to consume your soul. You see, a Kelpie comes in the shape of a pale white horse, standing by a shallow end of a loch or a river. And they're so beautiful through the neck. And as the head drops into the basket, Mary's lovely long red locks fell off. You see, she was wearing a wig, and she had turned grey during her years in England. That was a good life of Mary Queen Scots. Wallace looked at him and said, no, he was a man of very little words. So the knight said to him again, you have to give us those fish, they are the king's, which means they are ours. Give them now. Again, Wallace said, no. Up in Scotland and Inverness and Aberdeenshire, causing absolute chaos. And that's when William decided to send a wee message to Sir Andrew and said, hey, how about we meet together? Come down here to Stirling. I'm sure the English are real what for. And Sir Andrew agreed. Sounds like a great idea. I'll see.
May farm day too.
But the cows there, they're in their wee den in the wee shed there. You can go up and see them, see if they say hi, tell them to take a bath. They stink.
Kaya pala.
This is the main entrance to the smithy through this door here. To your right of that is the toilets. If you go straight down to your left, you'll find a wee cafe. You'll get a coffee, you'll get a breakfast roll, whatever you want.
Okay.
We're going to be here till 8:45. 8:45, guys. Now I have a bit of a rule today. If I give you a time, please stick to it. If you are a minute late, you have to sing me a song. If you are 2 minutes late, you have to sing me a song and give me a dance. If you're 5 minutes late, you won't have to do anything because I'll be long gone. Please stick to the timings, because if you stick to the timings, I can give you more stops and you get more out of your trip. It's only beneficial if you stick to it. Hey, 45 guys, be back. Be here or be square.
In our first stop, pwede kang mag-almusal dito. Kung hindi ka pa nag-almusal, merong restaurant dito sa loob na pwedeng makainan. At dahil nga mahaba pang biyahe, merong toilet dito, CR, na pwedeng gamitin.
Kapit tayo. Para mabuhay ang mga dugo. Oh, saan pupunta yung dalawa na yan? CR.
Nag-coffee muna kami, nag-CR, tapos pagkatapos na ang aming break or stop dito, start na ulit kami.
Don't worry, we'll be stopping plenty of times along the way and get up to Glencoe. So we're all fed, we're all watered, we've all been to the toilets. You'll all be raring to go and you'll all be awake now.
Yan pa ma. Yan o.
Flowers. Para siyang baby spread na dilaw. Picture.
So we're currently coming through the lowlands. We're in the lowlands at the moment, and you'll notice that all the lands here are pretty flat, believe it or not. You have the Stirling Flats and you have the flats of Edinburgh. And this is where we grow most of our crops. You see, Scotland's agriculture is normally in livestock. We have a lot of livestock here, so most of our agriculture there. But we have all these crops being done down here. We have things like your barley, your wheat, your potatoes, and that lovely yellow flower you see is oilseed rape. Very beautiful to look at. However, it causes chaos for us with hay fever. But you'll see how the lands change from this lovely flat lands, lovely flat plains, to pretty rocky, coming up to the highlands. Like elderberries. That's that one there. Doon's also very famous for its pistols. You see, in the 16th, 17th and 18th century, Doon was making pistols. Doon pistol. For you guys from America. When the bridge faltered and collapsed. This left the English lines in pandemonium. They were broken and they were in disarray. They had no idea. Their commanders were on the other side of the river. Where do we go now? What do you want us to do? But it was too late. William Wallace and Sir Andrew de Maurier had already given their men the orders to charge. They slew these men knife through butter. Cut them down, cut them through, and they pushed the English back, but they couldn't cross over the river, they couldn't cross over the bridge, it had already collapsed. So they got pushed into the river instead. And the river was extremely murky, very dark and boggy. And in all that heavy armour, they sank to the bottom where they would perish. This was a great victory for William Wallace. He was made Guardian of Scotland, and poor Sir Andrew de Moray, he was later to die from wounds he got in the battle, and that is why we don't hear of him so much. Now, with this defeat, the English defeat, Edward I was furious. How dare his army be defeated by a bunch of farmers and peasants? My great army has been destroyed. So he made sure that the next battle, there is no way he could lose. He would lead it himself. And he would bring all the best men he could get. English and Welsh bowmen, Irish levies, men-at-arms in full armour, heavy knights from Normandy, all over the place. He brought these men and he came up here to teach Wallace a lesson. A lesson that there is no way you can defeat an army like mine. And Wallace was crushed at the Battle of Falkirk in 1298. This led William Wallace to flee, and he had to flee to France. But he wasn't in France long before he managed to get a letter from one of his friends, John Monteith, who had served with him at the Battle of Stirling Bridge and at the Battle of Falkirk. And his great friend John Monteith said to Wallace, "Hey, I've got another army for you. When you come back and we can take Scotland again, be guardians together. Does that sound good?" And Wallace said, "Yeah, that sounds great. I'm back on my way." When Wallace landed in Scotland, he was met with John Monteith and his great army. It just wasn't a Scottish one. It was an English one. John Monteith had given Wallace up for his own life to be saved. So the English captured Wallace. They marched him straight down to the Tower of London, where they tortured him. He was then to face the worst punishment imaginable. He was to be hung, drawn and quartered. He'd be hung to an inch of his life and dropped at his last breath. He'd still be alive when he had his hands tied to a horse, and his ankles tied to another, and he was dragged apart, ripped apart, cracking and breaking his bones. But still alive, they'd then take him from the racking, and they'd place him on the cutting block. You see, the Romans came. They conquered as far up to Inverness. However, they did not like the weather. They didn't like the mist. Didn't like the marshlands. And they didn't like the people very much. So they came back down to here. And they built a great wall called the Antonine Wall. Not Hadrian's, Antonine here. And along this wall they built loads of forts. And this is one of those fort towns. But as later on it also became highly popular with the Victorians. You're seeing a lot of Victorian architecture here. And you're coming up to a very Victorian hotel. You're seeing Queen Victoria herself came to Callander. And she stayed in this very hotel coming up. It's called the Dreadnought, and it's owned by the McNab family. You see, these are McNab lands. And we'll explain all about the clan system when we reach the Highlands. There's a hush-hush thing down in the lowlands. When we reach the Highlands, it's a totally different place. And here we are, coming up on your right-hand side. It's the big white building called the Dreadnought. Now, Dreadnought is actually the McNab's family motto. Dread not, fear nothing. They were a Jacobite clan, and again we'll be talking about the Jacobites a lot. And I'll explain what a Jacobite is when we're up in the Highlands. Called a Highlander. Does everyone want to be a Highlander? Everyone's sick of being Lowlanders. Well, this is your last chance to back out. If you want to stay a Lowlander, you get off now. Because I'm about to make you a Highlander. I'll give you a countdown when we go over the Highland Fling. There you go, you've done the Highland Fling, you're now Highlanders. And I'd like to say it all goes downhill from here, but it's all uphill. You're in the Highlands, and what does that mean? Well, you see, it actually meant something back before the 18th century. You see, if you were a Highlander, you were subject to Highland law. They didn't follow the laws that you followed down in the lowlands. No, they had their own systems. They had clan law. And the Highlands are split up between different families. Now, what does clan mean? Clan is actually Gaelic for children. Children of the family. And that's why when you see names like MacGregor, Macbeth, MacDougall, MacDonald, that Mac and the Mooks, that just means son of. Up here. If you weren't a laird, you're a common person in your clan. Well, if you lived on the lands of your clan, you'd have to pay rent. And rent wasn't always paid in coin. It was more often paid in goods. The things that you made. If you were a farmer, you'd get up livestock, your goats, your chickens, your cows. Cows was a massive one. He got so peeved, so annoyed, that he actually put a bounty on Rob Roy's head and his families. So they're being hunted left, right and centre. And Rob Roy actually got caught several times. However, because he was so fearless, people didn't like approaching him one-on-one. He was a slippery wee guy and he managed to talk his way out of things. So every time they captured him, he got away. Until one of Rob Roy's friends, another duke, the Duke of Argyll, who was a Jacobite symbol. Glenfinnan Viaduct. I'm only joking. It's not Glenfinnan Viaduct. It's only his baby sister. Glenfinnan Viaduct's a lot bigger than that. You won't see any blue flying cars. I have had a complaint before that there's no blue flying cars going over. Trying to explain that one to the boss was not a good one. But that is actually now, it used to be an old Victorian rail line. Yeah, take the Victorians to and from the Highlands. However, it has been since pedestrianised and is now the Rob Roy Way. It's about a 50-mile walk if you fancy it. And this is what we're trying to get rid of. It kills everything underneath. So we're getting rid of those, and as you can see to the right, we're planting them more loosely packed. Growing more of the native trees. Now, thanks to the national parks, we're actually seeing a massive increase in our wildlife. You'll see a lot more red squirrels are actually going to become extinct. They're on the very endangered list for a very long time. They're being killed off by the deforestation and by the European grey squirrel. The much larger the species takes all the food. We're seeing a massive increase in their numbers, which is great. We've also seen the reintroduction of beavers and wild boar up in the north, although they're causing quite a bit of bother for the farmers. We're also going to see the inclusion of wolves. However, we have decided against it. We thought it's not great for tourism, is it? Everyone comes here to go on backpacking holidays. Go for a wee camp. Maybe I could teach a language. Angeers. Now, Angeersden actually doesn't translate to Fort William. It actually translates to the garrison. Because all the Jacobites and the Highlanders were scared of the place. That's the nasty place. Don't want to go there. You'll have a bad time. The garrison. Let's look down. Of that old gold mine to your left hand side up that mountain. Rebellion, Jacobite uprising. The King, Charles Stuart, had been kicked out and replaced with William III. And the clans up here were forced to sign a doctrine. A doctrine saying that they would be loyal to the new King William and they'd be his loyal servants. You're not welcome here. We'll be stopping very shortly. We're going to be stopping at Loch Tulla. We're going to be up high up on a viewpoint. Okay guys, we're coming up to our first stop. We're going to do a quick 5 minutes at the top of Loch Tulla.
Train tama. May train.
Malayo, hindi naman makikita.
We all got some lovely photos.
Yeah.
Good, so glad to hear it. So we're going to continue on the road. We're going to go about 20 minutes up here. Now we'll get off our second stop. Another viewpoint. Now the Three Sisters. The Three Sisters look over at Glencoe and the McDonald clan that we heard about earlier. They used to live right underneath. The Campbells burnt the place to the ground, so there's no village. sisters, the three mountains jutting out. Their names are Faith, Hope and Charity, and they watch over Glencoe. Now right below Hope, you will see a clearing, and that is where the old MacDonald village was. So can you imagine running up these hills, hearing your loved ones being shot at, slaughtered? Now we'll be letting you off here for a wee look at this. We're going to do another crocodile stop, another 5 minutes, guys.
Yan tayo. Sige. Ay, bebe, balik mo.
And all that hard work you've done to then have to sit and carve out your own gravestone. Well, the tradition that still stands. We're going to go past one of these graveyards, and all the very dark stones, all the old dark ones, they're all hand carved by the people that now lay beneath them. We're missing a couple of bolts deliberately to protect it from the curse. See if you can see them as we go over it. Now, a good old funny fact about this bridge as well is back in the 1960s, a daring man decided to fly a plane underneath it. And it was only about 30 feet from the top of the bridge to some water. The real 9 3/4. This is where the Jacobite Express the Hogwarts Express leaves from. To go to Malay, go over the Glenfinnan Viaduct. This is where it leaves. Not King's Crosses. Harry Potter would have you
It's the
believe.
church.
And I was always curious as to why those Scottish kids had to go all the way down to London to then come back up to Scotland. Doesn't seem very magical to me. Get up, we're going to come in here and we're going to be here till 12:30. Please be back at the bus for 12:30. See how many tourists we can run over.
Yeah.
Magla-lunch muna kami. We're going to take our lunch. Sige.
It is also the second deadliest mountain in the world. You see, it comes second only to Mont Blanc. And although it's not the tallest in the world, it's not the hardest mountain to climb in the world, the reason why it is so deadly is because people underestimate it. You see, people underestimate the weather. They go up on a day like this, or on an even sunnier day, and they think, oh, it's gorgeous, it's going to be great up there. So they go up in their shorts and t-shirts. They go up to the top having a great old time, and then the weather changes. The clouds come down, the mist rolls over, and you can't see a foot in front of you. And people take a tumble. Goes along with the Scots.
Hiningal ako. Naloko na. Ayan si sweetheart. Siya ba yun? Iba na tingin ko ah. Wait lang. Dali lang.
Hihingal kami.
Ayan yung ano tadaanin.
Anong nangyari sa'yo, Mama? Si Glenn.
Ang taas ng inakitaan eh. Nandito na kami sa ano, yung kung saan dadaan yung ano, Yung train na ginamit sa Harry Potter.
Okay ka lang?
Okay lang ako, anak ko. Tama ko muna.
Ba't kasi ang bilis mo naman lumakad?
Kasi gusto ko ma-secure tong lugar na to. Kasi dito tayo.
Saan ka magpipicture?
Dito. Dito yung mga...
Ayun
I-picturean mo
Doon
lang.
yung kung saan lugar dumaan yung train sa movie ng Harry Potter.
Kaya hihingal pa.
Oh, mama.
Mama, pagkadaan ng tren, bababa tayo doon.
Saan doon?
Oh.
Dito daan.
Hindi. Pababa doon.
Gulong ka na lang dito. Okay ka lang, nak? Ha? Grabe naman.
Ang bilis mo lumakad.
Hindi na kayo doon. Wala nga na.
Ha?
Oh.
Oh. Picture tayo. Okay. Nasaan tayo ngayon?
Glenfinnan Viaduck.
Glenfinnan Viaduck kung saan dadaan yung
Glenfinnan Viaduck.
sample na picture na ko dyan. Wala pang train.
Wala nga. Pa.
Ha?
Yan.
Babe.
Ganyan. Tapos, bakit tayo bubaba doon? Para andun yung tren. Kung mag 0.5 na lang tayo, tayong apat.
Yung tren pag 0.5 na.
Hindi kita ma.
Kailangan dito
Okay.
para malapit yung tren.
Isusumo siya.
Dumaan na yung train. Ayan mga kasangga, pauwi na kami. Galing na kami sa itaas. Nabangan lang namin yung train na ginamit sa shooting ni Harry Potter. Video doon, picture. So okay na, pauwi na uli kami ng Edinburgh. Kung bago lang kayo sa aking YouTube channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell upang maging updated kayo sa aking mga na-upload na videos.